Alright, welcome to another episode of Cooking with a Veteran live. I was trying to do this on my big screen, but for some reason it won't let me use the webcam. I don't know why. It was working fine the other day. I'm going to have to check that out. Alright, so anyway, let's get on to today's meal. I'm going to be making a spicy chicken soup. You know, chicken soup to me is kind of that, cross-cultural kind of thing. Like in every culture I've seen, in every place I've been in the world, there's some version of chicken soup. I've seen it with noodles, I've seen it with rice, I've seen it all kinds of different ways. But like I said, today I'm going to be making a spicy version of chicken soup and have some great ingredients down here. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to get the soup going here. Like I said, I want to be, here, and then I'm going to move it to the stove when it cooks later on. So the first thing I'm going to do, I got half a stick of my Irish butter. I love cooking with my Irish butter, and I'm just going to throw that in there. I also have, because this is going to be a spicy, I'm going to use a little bit of my hot chili oil, and then just some virgin olive oil. As always, I have my garlic and ginger, and of course, with my stews, I told you I like things chunky, I like things big, and so I have some nice big chunks of garlic and ginger to go inside of there. Okay. I'm going to put in some onion. I cheated on the onion today. I didn't really want to cut a lot of onion, so I just bought some pre-cut onion. I'm going to use my long stick because this is soup. Alright, so let's talk about what else we got today. I have my leek, I have my parsnip and turnips, I have my carrot, and again, these are all, they're cut big, they're not cut small. I have a little bit of fennel root. You know me, I like my fennel root, especially with spicy dishes. So I have a little bit of fennel root. I have some of the green onion, I have my celery, I have some chopped hot peppers, and then I have, you know me, I love my roots. This is some golden and some dark red or purple beets that I like to add into my hot chicken. And of course I have my chicken. And normally I would put a whole chicken in here. They didn't have any small whole chickens when I was in the market. They only had the big ones. So I bought some chicken thighs that I'm going to put in here. And with my spicy meals, I really like the darker meat better. Alright, so I'm going to let that get started. And I also have, and this is a little something I add to my spicy stews and meals and stuff like that, a little bit of nice fresh horseradish, just a touch of it, okay? And that will add a little bit of kick to that spice. Alright, so the butter is starting to melt, okay? And as you can see, I'm back to using my grandmother's pot. Okay, I'm going to put about half of a tablespoon of horseradish in there. This is my grandmother's sauce pot. I love this thing. I've had it for some years now. And this is just great. A pot like this is really great for cooking stews and beefs. Stews and soups and stuff like that. I also have, with any, the stew, having a little bit of a mouth fart today. With any of the soup packages that you get, it has some parsley, some dill, okay. I've also added a little cilantro in there, and I'm going to add my rosemary, sage, and thyme poultry package into the soup. Alright, so that butter is going with the onions. I'm going to go ahead at this time. I have my chicken here. My chicken has been, as always, brining. I understand, if you're working, whatever, you may not have time to brine chicken. But if you can, it really is good to brine the chicken. It lets it soften up some, tenderizes it so that it cooks through better. Alright, so those onions, they're going along nicely. And I'm going to add in my green onion. And I'm going to add in my spicy green peppers. Love the flavor of cooking onions and peppers. I don't know why, but I do. I love the smell of it. Got that going, and now I'm going to add in my leek. Alright, so now my onion, my garlic, my ginger, my spicy peppers, my leek, that's all going along nicely. It's cooking up beautifully. Okay, and at this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start putting in my chicken. I'm going to brown this up a little bit. Okay, let the chicken start cooking a little bit. Now you notice that I didn't chop the chicken into chunks, alright? And the reason for that is if you cook the soup properly, what you're going to get is the meat is just going to fall off the bone. Alright, so now at this time, a little bit of salt, some pepper, a little bit of my crushed red pepper, a little cilantro. Love cooking chicken soup with cilantro. I'm putting some of my some of my adobo, but I am going to put in paprika. Alright, I'm going to go ahead at this time, I'm going to flip these chickens over, let them start browning on the other side. Yeah, that smells amazing. A little bit of my white pepper. And now I'm going to add in, I like to cook with flowers, right? So these are my white flowers, okay? They're dried out. I've had them. I tried to go to the market to look for some fresh ones. They didn't have any. I guess they're out of season. But these are the winter white flowers that I like to cook with. And I like to put these into my chicken soup. Checking out how the chickens are coming. They're coming along nicely. And then remember what I told you before. You want to make sure that you don't put in too much stuff because you want to make sure that you have room for your broth. And so this is the point here. I'm going to put in just a little bit of my broth. Okay, about 2 cups of my broth. I'm going to go ahead now, I'm going to add in my dill, my parsley, my cilantro, and I'm going to bring this to a boil. And while I was doing that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take out my rosemary, okay, my thyme, my sage. And I'm really just going to break off some rosemary and throw it inside. Same thing with the sage, I'm just going to rip off some leaves of my sage and a little bit of thyme, and I'm going to do the same thing. Hi Mindy, welcome, thanks for joining. Sorry I have to squint, my big screen isn't working today for some reason. Alright, so I have my chicken in here, I've got my onions and garlic that I cooked up at the bottom, I have in all my seasoning. And remember, when I was making the beef stew, I said, I really like to, add the seasoning into cooking the meat itself because that flavor is going to carry throughout the whole meal as compared if you just throw the seasoning in at the end. All right, so you really want to get it cooking in with the meat itself. All right, so this is going to take a moment. I'm going to let this sit and boil up. Oh, it smells amazing. I'm going to add a little bit more pepper. All right, this is starting to boil, which is good. And this is the point where I'm going to start putting in my root vegetables. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to put a little bit of my fennel root, not too much, because fennel root really does have a good, powerful flavor to it. So I'm going to put in a little bit of fennel root. I'm going to put in, I forgot these, my parsnip and my turnip. Hey Marcy, welcome. All right, I'm going to add in some of my golden and my purple radishes. Like I said, I love to cook with some nice root vegetables. I'm going to add in my carrots and I'm going to add in my celery. So I have in my vegetables. All right, the chicken has been cooking on the bottom. It's boiling, it's starting to boil up. I'm going to squeeze in just a little bit of lemon in there. Like I said, this is a spicy dish, but I don't want it too spicy. I love a good spicy chicken soup, but I don't want it too spicy. I'm not going to cook it this time with any rice or pasta. I'm just going to make the straight soup, but you could add some of that. All right, so now that I've added my vegetables, I'm going to add a little more salt. I'm going to add a little more pepper, a little bit more of my crushed red pepper. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add in my other 2 cups of broth. I'm going to add in 2 cups of water. I had the broth left over for when I made some chicken the other day. And at this point, and remember what I was saying, like, you know, you can cut as you go along. At this point, I see I still have about that much room in my pot. So if I wanted to, I could chop up and I could add some more vegetables. I have some more carrots. I have some more celery here. Okay, so I could just simply cut a few more pieces of celery. You know me, I like a nice chunky soup. So I'm going to throw in my some more celery. But be careful though, if you throw in more vegetables, you do have to throw in some more stock because you want the water to cover over the vegetables. Alright, you don't want the vegetables just sitting on the top because then they won't cook. I didn't get the tricolor vegetables this time. They didn't have any at the market. Hey Joshua, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. Alright, so add a little more carrot. I'm going to stir that up. Smells great. I do need to add a little more water. I'm going to add 2 more cups of water. And like I said, I want the water to really come over and cover over the vegetables. Alright, so now I have my base put in here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let this boil. It's going to boil for about 2 hours, really. Not at a high boil. You'll bring it to a high boil. You'll lower it down to a medium. You'll let that cook for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then I'll let it sit, alright? I'll pour some more broth in it, bring it to another boil tomorrow, and let it then low cook again for about another hour. And that's how I make my chicken soup. I hope you enjoyed joining me on another live episode of Cooking with a Veteran. You know, if there's something you'd like to see me cook, go ahead and reach out to me. Go ahead and make sure that you like and follow on my YouTube or my Facebook. Make your comments so it helps boost up my episodes. And as always, until next time, hoorah!